Hi, I'm Adam Blum with RhoMobile. Thanks for watching our video today. In this first session, we'll talk a little bit about what RhoSync is, and then we'll do subsequent videos to talk about how to go and actually build RhoSync source adapters. So what RhoSync is a sync server that's focused on synchronizing web service data down to mobile devices. So there's RhoSync, which is a distinct sync server. Down on the user's device, this might be an iPhone, it could be a BlackBerry, it could be Windows Mobile. We have our framework called RhoDs that you probably already heard of. RhoDs can be used without doing synchronized data, but every RhoDs framework also includes a RhoSync client. And the big picture is it's the job of the RhoSync client that you use in your RhoDs app and RhoSync to transparently synchronize all the data from the back end down to your application. So you don't need to worry about it in your RhoDs application. So let's talk a little bit about what's actually going on inside of RhoSync at a high level. Inside of RhoSync, you as the developer are going to provide a RhoSync source adapter. And that source adapter is really just a set of methods. Login, query, create, update, delete, and log off. And in fact, you can get by with just writing query a lot of the time. And then RhoSync will handle the job of using these methods to communicate with your back-end web service and then synchronize the data down to the RhoSync client so that in your application you have all of that data available to you locally. So let's talk about what's actually going on with this back-end. So you might have some enterprise back-end here. One that we use a lot for samples is Sugar CRM, but it could be any enterprise app. And it exposes data. It might use REST, it might use SOAP, it might be XML RPC, it might be any internet accessible web service protocol. And you then, as the developer, are going to provide these methods, let's say the query method, which goes out, makes the call to the back end. It might do a REST call to get the data back. So it does a query and gets the data back. And then what RhoSync does is it stores this data in a big table. And this table has object, attribute, and values. And so it's going to take all the data from the back end and store it in the object, attribute, and values tables. There's a seventh method here that's called sync that generally you don't have to write. As long as you get your data back from the back end in a format that we call a generic results format, which is actually a hash of hashes in Ruby. And we'll go into that in the coding exercise. You'll see what that is. Generally, you don't need to write sync. The sync method is provided for you, and you won't even have to directly work with the object attribute values table. We just want you to understand what's going on here. So RhoSync will call the query method. It will retrieve the data. It will store it here. And then your RhoSync client will query, will retrieve from the RhoSync server, and it will basically go reach out and it will say, call the show method for the source. Now the show method says as follows. Do I have any data around, stored around here? Oh, I do. Good. Is that data current enough? You as the developer have options. It's by default 10 minutes, but you can change that time window. And if it's considered not stale and current enough, it will just use that data, not talk to your back end, which is very good as far as load on your back end, and certainly results in faster query for your device. and it will retrieve that data instantly so that it can be displayed by the client. However, if there is no data or that data is too old, then this show call to RhoSync will trigger a call back to the back end where this will go and make the appropriate call inside this query. In this case, it calls the getEntries method within Sugar CRM, brings the data back. The sync method then populates all that data, and then the data gets brought back to the RhoSync client. It actually uses a highly optimized JSON format, which the RhoSync client then stores onto the device so that it's accessible via the ORM on the device, which we call ROM. It's a simplified object relational mapper. And then all the data is there. So, what does this mean that you need to do as a programmer? Well, you'll write your Roads app, and we've had other sessions and other tutorials where we talk about the Roads app and what happens on the client. The only thing that you need to do on the server to make all this magic happen that you need to do as a developer is you have to write these methods. Login, query, if you want to do create, update, and delete of objects, create, update, delete, and optionally log off. So that's what we're going to do in the next series of exercises, is show you the code that's involved in writing a RhoSync source adapter. Thanks for your time.